You know what's good? Well, do you know what's good? Um, what's good? The heat broke. That's the main good thing to happen today. It has been raining continually, which we did not need. It has been an extremely wet summer. Um, but it means it's only been in like the 60s today. A little bit too humid because of all the rain to open any windows, but the house has been nice and cool, so I just switched everything off, which is a huge relief, a huge break for my poor heat battling devices. I'm looking around. I was coming up with ideas. I was concocting, wandering around. I picked up something that I think is going to be interesting, but I can hold off because I also found this package of pork chops, which, if you can see over here, 30% off of $3. Under $3. It was under $2 for 3 pork chops. So I'm going to make 3 things out of them, one of which I will eat today. Oop, I'm having a bit rate crash. Hold. I'm losing frames. I'm losing frames like crazy. Hold on. Hold on. I'm losing frames like mad. Stabilize. Stabilize. Okay, everything looks green. Okay, that'll be that. That'll be that internet blipping at me again. I think. I thought that was fixed. Fairly critical. You're first. Amazing, amazing. Flemish hair's here too. Did you guys see that massive crash in my frames just now? I lost 1,500 frames over the course of like 20 seconds. Um, that was ooh-wee. It looks board's all green. I'm not losing any more frames, so I guess we're good. Um, but welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Come on in, everybody in the pool. I don't know what got interrupted, so I'll just start over. Hi, it's been raining all day. Um, I went out looking for interesting things, and I came up with an idea. But then I was derailed by finding these ridiculously discounted pork chops. So we're going to cook one of those today for my dinner. But then I'm going to prepare the other 2 for future things. And I only have 2 ideas, so we're going to brainstorm a 3rd idea on the fly. And then I have a bunch of old, bruised, beat up apples that I got out of the produce discount. They're not really good for eating, but we're going to use them. And I'm going to use all of them because some of them are looking a little worse for wear. So they're not going to stick around very long. No, it wasn't you this time. It was me this time. I can see right here. I watched it happen. My little tracker went to red. Twitch on this screen said, connection unstable. And the little bitrate thing went to red. And it just started saying, you're missing frames. So that one was on my end. I thought that got sorted out, but I guess it's an ongoing problem. So fingers crossed that was the one blip for the day. It seems to not blip very often, so who knows? Let's slide to the right. Here's our main event. Pick out a good a good knife. We're still in the general idea of trying to be a little bit healthier. And pork chops, despite this big fat cap, the rest of it is so lean that if you just treat it right, then we're gonna eat that middle one. If you treat them right, you can cook them up without like making an unhealthy thing. I like the looks of this middle one with these extra bits on it. Okay, so one of them is going to be real basic, and I'm going to spend most of the effort on that one with the apples and the squash. We have squash too. Yes, they were $2 pork chops. They were redonkulous. It was hard to. I was going to do something else, and it was hard to pass these up. And since they're discounted, I got to use them today. So that kind of derails the whole thing. So we're gonna start with this guy. I'm gonna eat him today. That's gonna be our today one. I want a tray that we're just gonna use the little tray. I'm building suspense. I've just announced that I have some beat up apples. You can really see that they're a little bit. It's got a big brown spot there that we're gonna cut away. The other side looks fine though, so they're not good eating apples, but they'll be good other thing apples. But we have not announced yet. We're going to be building suspense. It's gonna go with the pork chop though. Salt, pepper, garlic, garlic, salt, and pepper. And then we're going to put a lid on that, and that's going to sit there and sort of get to know those things while we do other stuff. Very, very basic. It probably should sit there like that for a couple hours, ideally. And you put it in the fridge for that. I'm just going to have it sit on the side until I get to it. Wash hands real quick, even though I just realized I'm going to immediately go touch more meat. So I guess I will do the non-meat things when I get there. Okay, pork chop number 2 is not going to be eaten today. So I'm going to prepare it for tomorrow. Also, my salt is getting low. Do I have a salt box? I use so much salt. I think the humidity got into my salt because it's clumping a little bit. Salt. Okay. we turn the top of our bag here inside out so that I don't touch the outside of the bag with the raw meat. I'm going to take this guy and just give him real thin crosswise slices. Now, these are going to be thin enough that I could easily marinate this and use it today, but I don't want this one today because I'm doing a different one. But this is a pretty basic way to prepare some porky goodness. Should have touched this knife up before I started because it's having a little bit of a hard time getting through the fatty end. Oh, so how's everyone else's Monday/weekend been? I have been kicking my own butt on the exercise front, except for a rest on Sunday. And I have not yet seen results, but also it hasn't only been a couple of days, so. What am I going to do with that one? What am I going to do with that one? It's got to be something that can sit there for a day or two. You know what I'm going to do with this is take this. We're going to sacrifice this fatty end. I don't need it for this preparation. Okay. Those guys in the bag. Kebab. We made kebab here one time, and it was like a cheaty way of doing it, but it was tasty. It was lamb. What cuisine was that? I can't remember what cuisine I was working with in that point. It was a lamb kebab. Okay. We honestly could slice that one up, throw it in there as well, and just say, I'll have enough for 2 meals. I'm not going to do that, but we could do that. What we are going to do is, I'm going to measure this out because I want some proportions. Some soy sauce and some cold water. I don't want this to be too concentrated in the salt department, or we'll have really, really salty pork tomorrow. And it gives me a bit more of a medium in which to dissolve some sugar without this getting overly concentrated. If you do a longer marinade, you either want to do it for tougher cuts, and the pork chops are not a very tough cut, or you want to dilute it out a little bit so it acts a little bit more slowly. I've had naan pizza. I have never had like a big pizza-sized naan, but I've had pizza that was built on top of a naan, and that was pretty good. So in marinades, salt and sugar, the simple compounds like salt and sugar, actually penetrate into the meat. Whereas complex flavors, your garlic, your pepper, all that stuff, just kind of sticks to the surface, which can be useful, but it's not going to penetrate in, so it's not as useful to put it in at this stage. I am going to give it, I think, a dash of, where is it? Laogan, which is oily and will also stick. If you've never had this stuff, I'll show you in a sec. If you've never had this stuff, you're missing out. If you've never had this stuff, the brand is Laogan. It's just called Spicy Chili Crisp. This stuff is freaking amazing. Check for it at a local Asian market. Isosceles, hi. No, actually, that's not sambal olek. It's just called Spicy Chili Crispy. I also have sambal olek. Isosceles, you didn't make it. You didn't quite make. Somebody jumped in today. I'll tell you what happened today because you just got here. Today, Fairly Critical's first. Got it while I was still on the intro, before I even showed my face. Was just all over it. George! George is here. Let me shout out George. Mr. Potato. The 28th Mr. Potato. Hi. Shout out George. If you like food, George also cooks. Been doing it longer than me, and presumably is therefore better at it than me. How am I? I'm doing pretty good. We had the heat broke around here. We had rain all day. We are going to fridge this up and unfortunately not see it until tomorrow. So goodbye, sweet pork. If you want to see what becomes of that, here, let me grab my Discord link, and there will be pictures of whatever that turns into tomorrow, sometime tomorrow. Probably lunch. I imagine it's going to end up being lunch. Because, as we said at the beginning, 3 discount pork chops, but I'm only eating 1 today, so we're prepping the other 2 for different things. We're not using that bit. And this is pork chop number 3. TK! Oh, my voice cracked. TKL is here in the house. What do we do with this one? Because I only came up with 2 ideas since I found that package of discount pork chops. We gotta do something. What is the something? I'm going to push it to the side. Sushi is an option. Sushi is definitely a possibility. I'm not going to hard veto sushi, but also no. While I'm thinking about that, I'm going to get out my board, which is over here, and we're going to start looking into the rest of the day. For color reasons, I'm inclined to go with this enormous red onion. I've used a lot of my knives lately. They're all I love the inside of a purple onion. You can really see the rings. Oh, thank you for the follow. I just looked over and saw it. Welcome to the fam. Tell you what, this is going to be a lot easier if I just split this kid lengthwise. How long have I been cooking is a loaded question. How long have I been cooking on Twitch? We just kicked off year 3 in July. I had an anniversary for the beginning of year 3. How long have I been cooking overall? Long time. Although I've gotten a lot more better. Open my compost. I've gotten a lot better with all of the additional practice we've had here on Twitch. You know, this is a big onion. We might just use half of this. What up, fellow nerd? We are just getting rolling. If you got an idea for that, let me know. Something that will overnight well. Getting better at cooking is just a matter of practice. You're very unlikely, unless you go completely off the rails, you're very unlikely to make things that are inedible. Water! Oh my god. 11 months. That's almost a year. Thank you so much. I still don't have a sound effect for that. Entering my 3rd year, and I still don't have a sound effect for the most basic interaction that we can have. I am on top of things. As long as your food attempts are edible and you can taste them, remember what you did, and then next time you can make little changes and pay attention to how they taste different, how it came out differently. And through that process, you will learn what to do, what not to do, what you like. If you have any questions around for me, I am more than happy to answer. And I often try to talk through what I'm doing. Sometimes I get distracted and just start doing stuff without any indication of what it is. So we've diced up a red onion. I did forget to oil that pan, so we're going to give the pan a little blast of olive oil. And a healthy pinch of salt. And we will get the onions on a low, medium-low heat to get some softening. The salt helps draw out the moisture from the onions, which means they don't burn as quickly, and also they soften up more easily. And they are definitely sturdier than our apple, so they're going in first and getting started. Plus, I would like to draw out their sweetness a little bit before we get throwing in the apples, because I am going for sort of a sweet savory thing with this. So they're going to go just in the back and get working, and we're going to start grabbing these less than ideal apples and break them open and see what the insides look like. They're definitely going to be bruised up. We're not going to be worried about some minor bruising. If they're really mushy parts, I'm going to cut those away. So little tiny bruises like that, I'm not going to be worried about. It's not too bad. Let's get the seed out. I'm just going to grab a bowl to hold my scraps. That one, honestly, for a bruised up apple, pretty good. You want to work with these relatively quickly, because they will start to go brown. Not that that's a big issue, because we're cooking them down, so they're not going to be like fresh apple pieces, but just good practice with apples to not let them sit around too much. I'm going to break into this one because I have a feeling that's going to be really mushy, and I want to see what a actual like mushy apple. Yeah, okay. Now that we're not saving. That is beyond the pale. But it cuts away. There. We lost a little bit. Take the little stemmy thing off the end. We lost a bit, but we didn't lose that much, and the rest of it looks pretty much fine. Apples do go off relatively easily, which is why there's a lot of things. Well, we're going to be cooking them, so their texture should be relatively secondary. This one looks great. I might even just core this one this way. These would not be good cider apples. They're too sweet. We're going to have to put acid in our thing. Our thing, by the way, which I have not yet said what we're doing, we are, I guess it's going to be kind of more of a chutney than a compote, but it's going to be somewhere in the realm of a chutney slash compote with onion and apple. Oop, ooh. Okay, now I'm curious, because I touched that brown spot, and it's soft, but very dry. And I want to know what the inside of this apple looks like. Ooh, that one's looking pretty bad. But only right up at the top. Ooh, that one is mealy. You just said mealy. This one for sure is mealy. Which again shouldn't really matter since I'm cooking it. But it's dry. This is a dry apple. Weird. That one's weird. Oh. Some heavy losses from this guy. Ooh. That one's not so good. There are a lot of recipes that use... I've never eaten a dry apple either. That one was really weird. There's a lot of recipes that use fruit in ways that you can use the fresh fruit, but it feels like they're meant for fruit that's old. Like cider, jelly, jam, compote, chutney, where the fruit is being processed more and you lose its fresh, bright flavor, which suggests that it's meant to be done to fruit that is already starting to get a little less than fresh. Ooh, that part looks gnarly. Really soft around the edges. Ugh. No, that part's bad. Okay. We have a few bad parts. The difference between a compote and an applesauce. I don't know. I feel like applesauce might just be a specific kind of compote. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Feel free to look that one up and let us know. I would look it up, except I'm busy cutting apples. Probably has to do with other ingredients being added to it. Compote is not typically just one fruit. And I believe applesauce is entirely apple. It's like apple with apple juice. My onions are getting sizzly. How much were these apples? All together they were $1. So, discount apples. I found that yes, this was a $1. We're getting rid of some produce bag of apples, and it's because they were old bruised apples. This specific one I'm working on now is actually pretty nice. We might skin these. The skins are a little bit tough. These are not baking apples for sure. These are soft apples. I actually don't know what kind of apples these are either, because they don't have the label stickers on them. And since they were in the discount bin, not like an actual marked thing, they were just apples. An apple compote and applesauce are two different dishes. There you go. Oh, interesting. So compote is more like chunky cooked apples, and applesauce is more like apple puree. That piece I just ate, I did note the skin was rather tough. Now I'm concerned that I might need to remove the skins. We should also check in with our, it's a lot of apples, onion. Oop, this one's got some bruises. So some of these, a couple of those first ones were really bruised up, but a lot of these have been a lot nicer than I initially expected. Not so much. They're not wormy either. They're just bruised and kind of old. Not that wormy apples are bad. Wormy apples are great for cider. I should say sour wormy apples. You don't want sweet apples for cider. They get kind of nasty. They get too sweet. These skins seem a little bit tough. Join me, won't you, as we look at our onion. Sure. I'm just going to start gradually adding apples to the top of that. And I'm just going to peel the skins off roughly. I'm not going to bother with completely deskinning these. But if this, any bits of the skin that come off easily, we're just going to discard. I could use the scraps as an infusion or something, but there's enough like mushy brown bits in there that I feel like it wouldn't be very appealing. So I guess what we're making is apple sauce. And I'm not dicing these really intensely because they are rather soft. Apple doesn't hold up to cooking really well anyways. I expect them to just kind of break down as we progress. And if it comes down to it, I'll hit them with a masher. Honestly, it's a good thing I ran across these pork chops and was like, ooh, pork chops and apples. That's a thing. Because these apples are getting a little bit old. I had the apples already and I wasn't sure what to do with them because they're not good eating apples. And my other plan, my other plan that we did not do today that we're going to have to do later was, and brace yourselves, well, don't brace yourselves, it's less crazy than some other things I've done. Wonton lasagna. Wonton lasagna was my other plan. And I haven't abandoned it, I've just put it on hold, so I guess that's going to be a thing. I just noticed when we were using the wontons for the chips last time that they were very similar to pasta. All these apples were $1. And actually, all these apples plus a couple more apples were $1. It was a dozen apples, I think. Cheap apples. Chapels, if you will. It's actually more here than I thought. I thought we would lose more bits in the cutting and trimming because they were looking a little bit brown, but they held up a lot better. So we might actually have a little bit more apple than I was accounting for. Good thing I grabbed the larger pot. I don't know which side you guys would rather be on. I'm over here cutting apples, and I left you guys over there looking at the pot. But I'm switching back and forth every time I lean over to put apples in. Any preference for the viewers? Which side you'd rather be on? The cutting or the potting? It is a good deal. I actually didn't. Oh no, I did. I found some more discount today. So one of my local grocery stores, and yes, I'm fortunate enough to live in a place with multiple grocery stores, including some like bougie ones that I can't afford, but they're here. One of the grocery stores, what they do is they take their produce, their older produce, and they bag it up into $1 bags, and they're just kind of eyeballed and made of whatever they have on hand. So they vary greatly. Waveformer, hello, thank you so much for the 100 bits. How many bits is that? I need to make a bits reward just for you. Just for you. What do you want? Thank you so much. What was I saying? Discount produce. The discount produce, so it's really random stuff. We've had some really, really good finds, and I've also had some where I bought them, got them home, took them out of the bag, and immediately threw them away because they were way worse than I thought they were. I think we're going to just lose that one. That was the dry one. Happy. I can make a happy emote. You know what would make me happy? Hanging out with Weeformer. Thank you so much. We're gonna have to add some liquid to this, I think. So I got some squash out of the discount bin. We're going to use one today. The things I've had the most luck with out of the discount bin are bell peppers and bananas. Seems like they pull the bell peppers when new bell peppers come in at the store. So the ones they're putting in the discount bags are super perfectly good. That needs some water, or it's gonna burn. The ones they put in the discount bin are like pristine. Max! Oh my god. Max, you subscribed. Your subscription has kicked off a hype train. Oh my god. Also, I was gonna shout out WeFormer. Hi Mags, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Oh my god. Kicking off the nonsense. Bookwoman's here too. I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was saying before that. Something about the discount produce. Oh, it was bell peppers. It seems like they just throw the bell peppers out there when new bell peppers come in. So the bell peppers are always look just great. And the other thing that is great is bananas. Because they, like most people, treat a banana with some brown spots on it as old, but that's when the bananas are ripe. But hey, there's a hype train on. I hardly ever get hype trains. Exciting stuff. You Twitch people know what a hype train is. But if you don't know what a hype train is, contributing to the channel during the hype train earns you exclusive reward emotes. And of course, I appreciate it. There's a lot of apple here. Let's see. Applesauce. No, well, kind of. We are kind of making applesauce. You can't see them anymore, but at the bottom of that pot, there's onions. So it's going to be like a savory applesauce. And there's a little more onion, a little more apple than I was expecting. A wee bit more apple than I was expecting. Should have got the bigger pot. There'll be enough here to jar. We're also looking for ideas still for that pork chop. Oh, Flemish. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the subscription. Oh, every time I get something like this happening, that doesn't happen very often, and there's no like song and dance, and I'm like, oh, I should have done a thing. Let's see, that doesn't need to be boiling quite that hard. We'll bring that down. But thank you so much. Flemish Hare, of course, best known for inventing alcoholic peanut butter here on the channel, live here on the channel. Oh yeah, I need more emotes too. that I've said for a long time, because I've had unused emote slots for a long time. A sizzle? You heard a sizzle? Oh, a sizzle for the hype train. That's a decent idea. I should probably just enable the as a basic measure, just enable the one that comes built in with Twitch. That chunk looks pretty bad. Should have got the bigger pot. We're gonna have to cook these out a little bit. I've got a kind of a slight space theme going with the whole Jupiter, which does not fit my content at all. Okay, that took longer than I thought. There was a lot of apples there, and there's a lot of apples there. That filled up that pot. It was about a dozen apples, and this is 9 of them. The 9 survivors that we have to use up because they're getting even gnarlier than they started out. We cored them and trimmed them, and we did have to throw away some bits because they were already gone very mushy. But we're going to cook these guys out. They're going to soften up. We're probably just going to hit them with a potato masher. Because the ones at the bottom should be very soft. You can see the red onions emerging toward the top as I mash. Apples do not have good structural integrity when you cook them. They turn to mush very easily. Particular types of apples have a little bit more resistance. Those are the ones you use for baking apples. But that's why I was not worried about sort of chopping these real well, just kind of get them mushed up or get them chunked up enough that they'll sort of settle into each other, and then just mush them with a potato masher. That's plenty. And I added water, but we're also going to want to cook the water off. I added the water to sort of kick-start the process, but I don't want this to be very soupy at the end. Oh, that's a moth. Huh. Well, if he stays put, he's fine. There's a moth on the wall. There's the cord. See him? He's a big guy. Weird. If he stays put, I will take him out when I don't have hot things near him that I'm worried about him flying into. Um, I guess based on the definition you looked up earlier, we are more in the realm of a compote than an applesauce, because these are pretty chunky. I want to get them broken down enough that I can do a good, like, scoop. And we'll start tweaking the flavors. Well, it depends how much we cook down and mash, but up above here, Flemish looked up our definition. The shape and texture of apples are retained in the compote, which we're not doing, and no additional water is added, which we've already added water. In apple sauce, the apples are cooked with water, sugar, and seasonings, and then pureed. We're not pureeing, we're mashing. We added water, but we're cooking the water out. I added the water just to sort of get the process going. I'm not planning on making this a really smooth puree. I'm just allowing the apples to naturally kind of break down from the cooking process. There's also salt in here, which I added for the onions, but that's going to affect our flavor. Oh, there's also olive oil in here because I needed a little bit of oil to start the onions so they didn't just burn on the bottom. So we might be just beyond the pale. But let's give it a taste check. Tastes like apples. It's not extremely sweet. I'm going to add a couple pinches of salt. Because I'm not going for sweet, but also this volume needs something to wake it up. You know, I'm going to add just a little bit of black pepper. Not too much. Not too much. We're not going crazy with it, but just a scoosh, a skosh. It tastes like it wants warm spices, but that's because I'm accustomed to this flavor becoming like applesauce, where you would add cinnamon, maybe clove, maybe nutmeg to it. And I'm trying to resist just doing that and making this into that sort of apple pie flavor. I did say onions. We started out with the other half of this red onion that's sitting here. I was going to do the whole thing, but the onion is rather large, so I did half. But it's still a lot of onion. Salt, pepper, red onion. So in that respect, we're probably drifting into a chutney. I feel like some nutmeg would not go amiss here. You would add rosemary. Well, my rosemary plant died. Do I have any dried rosemary? No, I don't think I have any dried rosemary because I haven't used rosemary since my rosemary plant died. It was tragic because it lasted so long. It wasn't like one of those just seasonal losses. It just didn't quite make it. Ginger, sage, sugar. I don't want more sugar because we're not going making this sweet. I don't have any sage. I'm looking at things like Cajun spice blend, which is paprika, black pepper, and cayenne pepper. What if we shook this up first so it's loose? Add some smoked paprika and some, shake this one up so it's loose. I feel like humidity got into some of my spices because they have clumped. And just a little bit of chipotle. Jay, hi. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. We're playing with flavors right now, Jay. We're also coming up with ideas for this pork chop. This pork chop. Something that I can do to it overnight so it'll be good tomorrow because I'm only eating one pork chop today and that's the extra one. Oh, that's interesting. Ooh, it's got like a smoky, toasty smell. Call it Cajun spice applesauce. Take the heat down a little bit. Marinate it with what? Ooh. Mmm. Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. I am going to give it just a little bit of extra sugar. I asked marinate with what? Because this was a 3-pack. This was a 3-pack. We have one over here that I did a dry rub on that is sitting there waiting for me to cook it. We have one that I cut into very thin strips. Oop, it's unrolled its bag here, and is marinating in watered down soy sauce, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of chili crisps. So we could do a dry overnight marinade on this one. That might be good. And butterfly it so that it's like a split the length. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. I like the way you think. But what's the flavors we're going for? I'm adding a little bit more smoked paprika. I like that smoky element. And I like the idea of some ginger. Which at this point is going to be powder. If I was going to add fresh ginger, I would want to have done that at the beginning so it would have a chance to infuse. I I like the way this has gone. We're just playing around. We're just playing around. Mr. Potatoes, if you're still here, this is exactly the kind of thing you do to learn cooking. You just start adding stuff. You add a little bit, you taste it. You add a little bit, something, you taste it. You see what you've done, how what you've done has changed what you're working with. Just okay. I think we're in a good place with this. Well, I should probably give it one more taste. Hot. Oh, that smoke in it is really hot. It's hot. Okay, I'm gonna switch that to back burner on low, just to keep warm and kind of keep thinking about itself. The color is quite nice too. It's developed this sort of peachy color, but the purple chunks of the onion still come through. Edible but weird. Weird how? And do you know why it was weird? Two important questions. Garlic, oregano, cumin, paprika, salt, dill. Dill. I do like dill. I do like dill. That is the apple board. This is the meat board. So the one I've got here today is a very simple salt, pepper, garlic, because I'm serving it with this apple stuff that is the main event, sort of flavor-wise. So this guy, I could go much more profound with the flavors. And if we butterfly it, we can get some of that up inside of it. That's a good idea. That's a solid idea. We'll have to make the rub first in order to get it nice and even. Usually use Caesar. This time you went with Vidalia onion dressing. Vidalia onions are very sweet, famously very sweet. So if you're used to a creamy savory thing, that is going to be a big departure. Okay. Some dill seed, some dill weed, some, we're going to grind this, some garlic powder, some oregano. I'm just kind of doing what Jay said without thinking about it, which is good life advice. Do what Jay says, don't think about it. Onion powder. some black pep. Smoked paprika. We can add some chipotle. I'm not worried about doubling up the flavors because we're not eating this today. Some salt as an abrasive in our grinder. So I think I know about half the story of Vidalia onions. I know that they are a variety of sweet onion, and they are one of those things that has the name Vidalia onion means it comes from the town of Vidalia, which is in, I want to say, Georgia. But the variety of onion can be grown anywhere. What makes Vidalia specifically special compared to other sweet onion, Miss Sepsi, hello. What makes Vidalia onions in specific special is that the soil around Vidalia is very, very low in sulfur. Pretty sure it's sulfur. It's low in the compound that the onion uses to make those pungent oniony flavors. So when the onion grows, it's looking for the sulfur to make those pungent oniony flavors, and it just can't find it. So you end up with a sweet onion. You can grow a sweet onion anywhere, and it'll be sweet, but it will be sweet and still have that oniony bite to it. Around Vidalia, they grow sweet, and then they don't have the oniony bite, so they're just sweet. They're sweet enough that you can, like, take a bite. There are other places with soil like that, and you can also, like, grow them in planter boxes or something, and just control the amount in the soil. But it was discovered randomly by just people growing onions around Vidalia, Georgia. Thank you for confirming that it's Georgia. I'm going to add some chipotle and some smoked paprika. And you know what? One more thing. My applesauce just made a farty noise, so we're gonna... Oh, you guys are over here. Have you guys been over here the whole time? My applesauce made a farty noise, and I want to make sure the bottom's not burning. It's on very low. It shouldn't be getting hot enough to burn, but the farty noise means that it was sort of containing the heat at the bottom. Turn it down even lower. Just trying to keep it warm. We don't want to cook it anymore. You guys should have been over here. I think you guys have been looking at the empty pot this whole time. Or the pot this whole time. You could grow onions in pure sulfur. I think they would just die. They'd need things other than sulfur. There are some interesting things people do. Now, okay, this is liquid smoke. We're just going to add a dash, because liquid smoke is quite pungent. But we're going to try to turn this into a little bit more of a pasty rub than a just straight up powdery rub. So a little bit of liquid smoke and a little bit of hot oil. Nope, I don't need the long spoon. Forks sticking together. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. I am going to add a little bit more dill. I think you're right. We want to balance that out with some dill. Okay. Yeah, and then we're going to take this. We're going to get a bigger, meaner knife. You will not be able to see this because in order to do this properly, I have to put my hand flat on the top. But the result is butterfly with kind of a irregular ridge because I am not very good at butterflying, but there you go. Oh, there's a little bit of silver skin on this. I'm going to preemptively take this little nose bit and just remove it. Okay, and then we're going to take this stuff and just kind of really mash it in there. Close it up, do the same on the outside, really get this guy all sorts of flavored. I measured out my my rub here. Just right. Okay. And there is pork chop, the pork chop of tomorrow. Let's get out the pork chop of today. Ooh, the pork chop of today smells pretty good too. And I can see that our salt has mostly dissolved and formed a wet surface paste with our garlic and pepper. If every pork chop was perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs. This guy's going to go here and have the lid put on him, and we'll see him tomorrow. But he's gonna rest in the container like this. I'm gonna move some things around. I wasn't expecting to have a marinade when I started this today. But what are you gonna do? Okay, the pork chop of today is a very simple, basic thing. The pork chop of tomorrow is, I want to say, an affront to God. Okay. And our other board is still, it's wet, but it's not porky. I hear affronts to God are all the rage now. They're like the hot new thing. Okay, this guy's just gonna get out of the way because I don't want to get porked prematurely. Oh my God, you lied to Ever? Soothing voice. Soothing voice. Nobody ordered a moisten. I can't do a real one. I can't do it unless somebody orders it. Oh. Moist. Moist. Hi, Cybertraz. We're glad to have you. The last element of my plate today is going to be this beast. And I'm just going to take the stem and the bud end off. Split it down the middle. And we got ourselves a summer squash. And I want something relatively basic for this guy. Do you fit in our magic pot? We could do the magic pot broil, actually. Actually, that's what we're going to do. Close your eyes and dream of delicious food. Olive oil. So we're doing this the old hand rub way. Where I want a nice coating. Because we need a thermal interface or this is just going to get like scorched. Oily. Probably not good for your skin to be just drenched in oil all the time. If you ever need to oil an irregularly shaped vegetable, such as I just did, the easiest way to do it is to rub it all over with your hands. Anything else you do will waste a bunch of oil. I mean, you're going to waste some oil anyways, because then you wash your hands, but if you want a perfectly even coating, like if you're doing a potato, the easiest way to get it coated is just to go all over with your hands. Weedformer, what's that squint? What's that squint? No, I don't want to pepper this in advance because the pepper will scorch. Okay. And I've decided I'm going to change this around and do it the other way. Okay, well, let's do nose down first. I'm going to flip them. I'm going to flip them halfway through. So we're going to do nose down first. I'm going to broil them. We're going to broil. We're going to salt that side real quick. Salt the skin side real quick, because it will stick. Salt will not burn. I mean, salt technically will eventually burn, but at kitchen temperatures, you are never going to burn salt. The combustion point of salt, the oxidation point of salt, is so ridiculously high compared to any temperature you're going to get in here. Never worry about burning salt. Power on. Broil. There's no temperature control on broil. It's just an amount of time. So let's blast it. Let's blast it. Yes. Yes. Squash, apple stuff, and we're going to have a kind of a muted color. It'd be nice to have something green. It'd be nice to have something green to just kind of offset the plate. I don't have any parsley. My parsley got slimy. We could just throw a sprig of mint on the plate. I am using the foodie to broil. We are on the broil function. I've got 5 minutes and I'm going to look at it. If we slide up here, and we slide it down a little bit, you can see my dish pile behind it. Dish pile. There's the foodie. It doesn't look like much. You could melt salt in your kiln. The kiln gets to 800 degrees Celsius? That's hot. I suppose it has to melt the glazes. What's the melt? I'm trying to think of them. The melting point of clay minerals never came up in my geology education. It's not something that happens, really, in natural geology. But I think the melting point of clay minerals is a little lower than that. Pretty spicy. What pan are we using today? This one. I have a whole collection of these now. Oh, you can't see it. Goes to 2200 Fahrenheit. I don't know the conversion off the top of my head at that point. It's hot. No, you could definitely do it. That's 1200. 2200 Fahrenheit is 1200 Celsius. You're definitely over the melting point of salt then. This guy. This is our guy. This guy is the guy. Oh, I put you over there. We have a whole collection of cast irons now. This one was made in Taiwan. It's small though, as opposed to the ones we typically reach for is this one when I'm doing like a steak. We don't need that much room. On the other hand, could we use the little baby guy? I think we could probably use the little baby guy. Do it there. We're going to use the little baby one. Because we're just doing one little baby pork chop. I have done some reading about molten salt nuclear reactors, which sound very interesting. I know that's not halite salt, but still. Okay, we're doing a little baby pan. I think it's designed for an egg. I don't have a lot of use for the small one, but it is not a Lodge pan. It is some older model I found at a thrift shop, and it has a really smooth surface, which is something I always look for. Let's check on our squashes. I'm going to give them a poke. How fast can a nuclear reactor cook a pork chop? Pretty fast. They're pretty hot. They're pretty hot. You know, those guys could use some more time on that one side, I think. Are you still warm? You're still warm. Let's give this... I washed my spatula. Of course I did. Let's give this a stir to make sure it's not doing anything weird. Ooh, it's gotten much softer as it's been sitting here, which is nice. It's more like a paste. It's shapeable like mashed potatoes. It's shapeable like a mashed potato. So yeah, we're gonna get this pan hot. It should heat up pretty quickly because it is so small. The oil is doing some interesting, I don't know if you can catch it in the reflections, but it's like, it's not quite running like water yet, but it's rippling from differing heat within it. It's sort of internally moving around. We can always test our pan with the old drop of water. And that is not hot enough for a beef steak. The apple to pork chop ratio is way off. Wildly off. Fortunately, I have jars. And the extra apple stuff is going to be jarred. But yes, I am aware of the fact that we have a vast quantity of apple compared to our pork. But you know, we're still on. I didn't put it right in the title this time because I feel like it scared people off on Friday. But we're still on sort of the general vague concept of I'm trying to be a little bit healthier this month. So I'm not making a huge quantity of fatty meat as a main event. Oh, there goes the moth. The moth does not like that I have started to fry. Oh, there goes the moth. Hi, moth. I don't know if you got to see that moth at all. I am going to catch him because now he is super active. And I'd rather not have him be all over the place right now. He's quite a large moth. Hoo-hoo, boy, he's a big one. There he is. I don't know what kind of moth he is, and I'd have to do some research to look it up. He's got orange hind wings, and he's a big chunky guy. We're going to throw him outside while that pork gets started. You guys keep an eye on the pork. I'm going to go throw this guy outside, which fortunately the door is right here. And he's gone. He was sitting on the cable, the wire that from the magic pot, which runs behind the stove, which means he climbed out from behind the stove. And when I started the pork chop, it disturbed him and he started moving. I don't off the top of my head know my insects well enough to tell you what kind of moth that was. We're going to flip our pork chop. We're going to check on our... Ooh, yes, okay. Our squashes have developed little brown edges. So now I'm going to flip them. So the cut side is up. And give them one last blast. For less time. And they should get some decent char on the outside. And for this, I'm not sure what I'm looking for. I'm not exactly sure what we're looking for here. I don't want it to be dried out to heck. I'd like it to be still moist in the middle if possible. And I guess the only way to do that is with a temperature probe. So we might have to just give it a poke. My thing says it's 100 degrees, which is definitely not cooked through. We want it cooked through, but you don't want it cooked dry. The target temp for pork is 135, I think. It used to be 165 for pork because of trichinella. But trichinella is so rare now. It has been so effectively eradicated that the old temperature has been changed because there's not a worry about having to kill trichinella anymore. So now it's closer to what you would get for like beef. So you can leave it a little bit pink in the middle, and it's fine. If you cook it to the old target temperature of 165, it is always dry as a bone. Especially a pork chop, this big lean chunk of muscle, always dry as a bone. You want that. You want some juice in the middle still. This would be a good thing to sous vide like we did with the steak, because you could get that internal temperature right on point without worrying about shooting it over and then just sear the outside. So this is probably close to done. It's not a very thick piece. It was only about, let's give it a poke. I think a lot of people don't like pork because there's this assumption of the way it used to be, the way it always used to be under the old guidelines, which were specifically to kill trichinella, which again, we've defeated. We beat trichinella, unless you've got wild pig. If for whatever reason you're eating wild pork, then make sure you cook it well done, because I'm pretty sure those still have trichinella. But the domestic pork has been so thoroughly cleaned, we're getting that off the heat, that it's just not an issue anymore. Trichinella is a worm, and pigs get it because they eat so much just random scrap. They're omnivores. Regular full-time herbivores like cows don't get it because you would get it out of animal scrap. Get that guy off the heat completely. It looks pretty good. So it's something you would never encounter in beef, so it was never an issue. So there was never that guideline to cook beef to well done for safety. But because, especially when you're growing pork, when you're raising hogs in a more like old-fashioned rural farm setting, they're getting a lot of food scrap. They'll get some potentially exposure to the parasite, and then you can get it from the meat. But modern industrially raised pork is not exposed to it and just doesn't pick it up. We need a plate. We're at the point of deciding on plate. I mean, you can just not like the taste of stuff too. There's plenty of things I'm not a big fan of the flavor of. I only object when people say they don't like the texture of pork, because it usually is because it's been wildly overcooked. What's our plate today? We've got yellow and kind of pale, and then this purple peachy thing. So I think the black plate is going to be really nice because it'll make our light colored food pop. And I'm not going to cut this guy in advance. We're going to find out what he looks like when we cut him officially for tasting. Because I'd rather have a whole piece on the plate. So he just gets to go there. Bring the plate over to me. Oh, we could do pretentious bullshit plating. I'm not good at pretentious bullshit plating. But we could take like this guy and put him there. And then we do have to clean up the side a little bit. Boy, that looks pretty small when you stack it up like that. But that's how they do the pretentious plating. Everything's sort of piled in the middle, and then you... Okay. I do. I'm going to go grab a sprig of mint so that there's something green to put on the plate. I'm going to take my socks off real quick because it's very wet outside and I've been wearing socks. So, show feet. But I think a sprig of mint will look nice. Maybe a grape? Oh, a mint flower. Oh, a mint flower. The mints are trying to flower. I can take a mint flower. Diagonal. And of course we have this. This is going to go on there as well. All of it, the whole thing. We're going to just absolutely destroy this plate with apple goop, so you can't even see the rest of the thing. There. It'll look better at a slight angle than directly above. Give it some fresh pepper and our flowering mint sprig. Kind of sitting next to it, I guess. Do it like that. Sure. Fancy pants, exactly. Let me go take a picture real quick and let's dive in and see what I have made. I hope that it tastes healthy and also delicious. And then we will jar up. Well, I'll jar stuff up at the end. Or who knows, maybe I'll just throw it all away because it's disgusting. We don't know yet. We don't know, do we? We're back. I have a knife. I have a fork. I have a flouring mint, which we're going to immediately set to the side. Eat the entire mint sprig. I've committed. I feel like mint stem is like wood. Also, hello, Brittany. Oh, this is such nice mint. It's very minty mint. It's like a sweet mint. Okay, main event. Starting on this end of main event. Main event is pork chop. There's a ever so slight not white in the center. It's definitely not any kind of a medium though. Mmm. It's still juicy. It's not dry. Ooh. Mmm. Sorry, I'm chewing. I definitely want a bit of all three in this case. The pork is, it's juicy. It's maybe a touch chewy. Probably overshot it just a little bit. It's very hard to temperature probe something this thin. So temperature probe wasn't really going to ever give us a really good result. And the flavor of the pork itself is, it tastes like pork. You get a little bit of garlic from the garlic powder that was on the surface. It's undersalted, but the squash has a good amount of salt. So combining the two gives you a really well balanced bite. The apple, I'm going to call this a compote. I think we ended up with a compote. Except I added a bunch of stuff to it, so it's probably a chutney. This apple chutney is, it's sweet, but just very delicately sweet. The flavor is very apple forward, but it has this like back of your nose smokiness that when you taste it by itself doesn't come through very strong, but in combination with the pork chop jumps out a lot more, which is why I said, whoa. I think it combines with the flavor of the sort of the charred meat edges, and it really enhances. It goes well. This isn't like knock your socks off delicious. And I would say I overshot the meat on terms of texture. Despite everything I was saying, it's hard to not overshoot it a little bit. It's not dry, but it's definitely got a chew. I kind of want a glass of white wine with this. That's the kind of meal this is. It's just kind of nice. It's nice. I would eat this, which is good because I'm going to eat this. I don't know that stacking it up really did much. I like the broil on the squash. It's very tender, but it cooked it through really nicely. Mmm. With like little charred edges for some character. I like it. This isn't like, yeah, it's not blow your socks off. It's not like wildly crazy. We have a ton of this apple stuff left. I will be jarring that up and perhaps even handing a jar to somebody and saying, here, have some apple stuff. It's unknown apple stuff. But overall, I think we have a pretty good result. I'm not sure what I was expecting. I'm not sure what I was expecting. I don't think it was quite this, but I'm not mad about it. I forgot to add a quart of rum, of course. I don't even have a quart of rum. We could have done some cognac. Cognac sounds like the kind of thing you'd put in a compote. Well, that has just tipped us over 2 hours, so I think I am going to wind us up and ship us away. Let me slide up to the main. Well, I think on my quest to be a little bit healthier this month, in terms of portion size and in terms of how much butter and oil and cheese I'm throwing on everything, I think we've got that. Everything here was just lightly oiled, so there's not a ton of extra fat. Everything has just had seasoning added to it. We didn't have to add a bunch of crazy stuff to really amp up the flavors. So I think we're in a good shape. I know you can cook delicious food without it being greasy, fatty, gross. It's easy and very splashy to do such and such fried and such, or stuffed with cheese. Speaking of cheese, there's going to be something with cheese coming up because I have some fresh mozzarella that has to be thrown into something. And I think we're gonna the next thing we're gonna do is gonna be wonton lasagna. Wontonya. Because I was gonna do that today before I found these pork chops. And that sounds like the kind of thing. That sounds like the kind of thing that would be perfect for like the channel. But I got to figure out how to make it not a big gross grease bomb. So yeah, let me see who's on. Click the old raid button. We didn't drop any more frames after that big spike right at the start, so that was obviously just the internet blipped out on me, which I thought we fixed that. Because I mentioned that on Friday, and then we dealt with it, and it was like the routers got reset. So wontons, if you caught Friday's show when I made the wonton chips, one of the things I pointed out was that the uncooked wontons are very similar to uncooked pasta dough, although they cook up differently. They don't cook up the same way when you're done. So I was thinking, could you treat these like pasta? So the idea is to use the wontons as the noodle instead of pasta. And that's sort of the entire extent of the concept, and I don't know where we're going to go with it beyond that. So we're going to have to play around with it. It's going to be uncharted territory. So I guess stay tuned. I'll have to brainstorm what the actual what wonton lasagna actually means. Tell you what, I know where we're gonna go. We rated this person not too long ago, and he's just getting started on his own project. He's making low-carb pork dumplings. So, let's go say hi. We're gonna go see Thyrobster, who I randomly raided into, and I thought was a good time. And he's on now again, so we're just gonna go do that again. And it looks like he's just getting started because there's nothing on the go yet. So we're gonna get in on the ground floor before big crazy things happen. I'm hoping. Oh, and I'm suddenly losing frames. So if you can still see me, we're raiding out. And I will see you next time. Thanks to Weedformer for the bits. Thanks to Flemish for the sub. Thanks to Warder for the sub. Was that it? I can't see my info tracker today. Good times. My internet blip has stopped. Yeah, so I will see you next time. Stay tuned in Discord for the results of our overnight marinade pork chop. And bye.